Amen. All right, guys, we're going to get started. First of all, we just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for joining our discussion, our panel. We're doing a series actually on honoring your vows. Honoring your vows. And the segment that you guys, I thought about you guys to be a part of is for richer or all for poor. And we'll start with the Waldens and then the Berries. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us how long you've been married, and we'll keep going. Go ahead.
I'm Jermaine.
And I'm Deborah.
We've been married for about 2 years now.
Yeah, we just celebrated 2 years on July 4th.
All right, newlyweds. And the Berries?
Hi, I'm Rosa.
I'm Mike, and we've been married. Next month, October, will be 13 years.
13 years, you made it to the teens now. Very
13
good.
years.
Awesome.
Teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers.
You guys will get there, the Waldens. You guys are doing
Yes.
great. We chose both of you couples because I think that you guys are really an inspiration to a lot of couples. You know, growing up in church, you know, we would be the ones that watch other couples. But now you guys are the one that's married, and other couples or other people are watching you for direction. And especially in this area that we're going to talk about today, because when we talk about honoring your vows for richer or poor, like I told you guys earlier before the segment started, that some couples, they repeat or recite what's said on the wedding day. Whatever the minister says, they repeat it, not really having an idea of what they're really saying. But you guys have lived through some things already. Jermaine, in 2 years, already went through a lot. And definitely Rosa and Mike have gone through a lot in the last 13 years that they've been married. We believe that you guys have a lot to share with the audience, all right? So, all right, this is one of our first questions. We won't get to them all, but we're gonna get to as many as we can within this segment. I wanna go back to the beginning because we are many times a product of our upbringing. The things we decide to do now is based upon what was done for us before. And so I wanna know, I'm gonna start with you, Rosa and Mike. Growing up, what was when you saw your parents with finances, how did they handle it? What was your upbringing concerning money? Did they talk about it at the dinner table? Or was it a taboo subject? Nobody really said anything. What did you experience?
Well, in my household, we didn't really talk about money. It wasn't something that we just sit down and say, hey guys, let's talk about money. Or my parents didn't necessarily talk about it with each other, but I did hear fights about money. I did hear them argue about money as far as working and who's not working enough and who brings in the most. And, you know, there were a lot of arguments about money. I remember hearing arguments about money growing up. That stands out the most to me.
Oh, wow. Did you experience the same thing, Mike?
No, I grew up in a single parent home, just mom, and there was no talk about money. She went to work, and everything just seemed to work out at home. I never lacked anything.
It was just her.
It was just her, and she made it work. Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
What about you, Jermaine?
Well, I definitely heard arguments about money, but anything else, it just wasn't discussed. Like, all I knew is that I would see water bills on the refrigerator, and sometimes, like, you don't even ask. Sometimes you kind of expect the water to get cut off. You don't know why, if someone forgot or if we didn't have it. But yeah, it wasn't discussed, but it was argued about. I'm with Rose on this one. Yeah.
Wow. It wasn't discussed, but it was argued about. That's interesting. It is. What about you, Deborah?
Sorry, she's loud right now, but I'm somewhere in the middle because my parents are not together, but they're not together. So it's like my dad's in and out of the picture. So I constantly hear or heard my mom while growing up always trying to make sure he, pays what he's committed to pay. And it's always like, oh, you didn't do it this month, or hey, are you gonna, your kids are, it's just like, it's not really like a battle because she it's more like tugging at him, like, you're already not here, at least, provide the amount that you're supposed to provide that you said you were going to. I know, like, no matter what, she always, hustled and found a way to make everything work out, thankfully, but yeah, it's somewhere in the middle.
Wow. It looks like, what you think, that they didn't really see good role models
Right.
in that area in terms of discussing it. So
Definitely not.
when you got married, did you guys talk about it? Because you didn't see it talked about that much. It wasn't something where they sat down and said, listen, this is how when you get married, this is what you need to do. When you decided to get married, did your parents say, okay, you need to handle money like this? Did they do that? Or what did you learn from them about
From my
money?
family,
Yeah.
it was hard. Ooh, I'm sorry. I might even get emotional because okay. I went through hell trying to get married. Excuse my French. But it was more like, y'all not ready. Y'all can't get married. Let's just say it like that.
Okay. But didn't they say why? Did they say it's because of money?
That was definitely one of the, they have so much fear that you're gonna end up like them because that's what they know and that's what they see. So they're like, oh, because you don't have this type of job or this type of career, this type of income, or this type of education, you're not ready. You need to get so and so degree, and after you're done with that, then maybe maybe you can, you can go into the next step. Yeah, I'm Haitian, so yeah,
Okay.
real Caribbean.
Wow. So what about you, Jermaine?
Yeah, mine's was more so like the spiritual perspective, where like if that's because my parents kind of trusted me spiritually, like they knew that whenever, because I don't talk about certain things a lot, they know that when I bring something up or I present a woman to them, they're like, oh, he's serious. He's actually serious. But money still wasn't a topic of conversation. There was no guidance. There was nothing like that. Yeah, it's just up in the air, like open to continuing the cycle in my book. That's what I see.
So getting married, watching that example, you didn't want to repeat that.
Oh no.
So did you talk specifically, since you didn't want to repeat that, did you find yourself purposely talking about money
Yeah.
before you got married?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think we were pretty much both, we were already aware of what we didn't want to do. So we were both mature in that area of like, okay, we're not going to do that. So we need to handle this right now. Like, even if we can't fix it, at least we know what to expect.
Definitely laid everything on the table
Yeah.
before we got married. And
Wow.
then it was reaffirmed with our counselors,
Right.
you guys, in more depth, a lot more depth.
Yeah, we definitely dug into that really deep. It's really important. What about you, Mike? Did you guys, knowing the examples that you saw, well, with you it was just your mom, but with Rosa, with both your parents, knowing the examples that you saw, did you go into marriage following that example, or did you say, look, because of my past, we need to do something different? What did you do at first?
Well, for me, it was my mom and my stepfather. So I wasn't with both of my biological parents. And I had similar situation as Deborah, where it was my mom was making sure my biological father make sure, hey, are you going to pay, child support or what have you? So I did overhear things like that. And the exact same thing with them. My mom and my family was like, no, you guys don't need to get married. It's kind of, you're too young. You don't have this degree, as Deborah said. You don't have this financial stability. You don't have any of this. And then for Michael, I know his family was like more, I guess, spiritually or in the church, so to speak. So they were like, no, y'all need to get married. It's better to marry and then to burn and figure out all that other stuff on the way. So we can definitely relate to you guys in that aspect. But I will say, my stepfather always told me, he said, you're not supposed to spend money. You're supposed to save money. So I remember him saying that. And then another good example when they weren't, arguing about, money and finances is when we would go on vacation. I remember them sitting down and mapping out the vacation money. Like my stepdad would always carry the roll of money, like in his sock, in his shoe. Cause he was like, if somebody rob you, they gonna take your shoes, but not your socks. So you got to keep it in the sock at the bottom.
Wow.
My mom always was the one to make sure that we had enough money to spend on vacation and go on vacation. So that for vacations, I remember them having a plan. But as far as other things, I remember, hearing arguments about money and stuff like that. So that's one thing I could take away. Money is, make sure you save. Money is meant to be saved, not spent. That's what he would always say. So.
Wow. Well, that's a good example. It really is. With me, I know that growing up, my parents didn't talk about it. Even to this day, they really don't talk about money a whole lot. But I do know that they were, for the most part, savers. I had to learn by watching, not really by being sat down at the dinner table discussing it. I had to figure it out on my own. Sometimes, my mom might take me aside and say, you got to save a little bit for that rainy day. She always talk about that rainy day. And I'm looking outside. I'm like, it ain't raining. I don't see a problem. I should be able to spend this. I was a spender. I'm kind of like my dad. He likes to spend too. And I'm a spender. So I had to, over time, calm down. Since I got married, I've kind of calmed down because I'm like, okay, the things that I do now is going to affect not just me, but it's going to affect somebody else. You agree with that?
I do agree with that. I wanted to hear from Michael before I shared mine.
Go ahead, Mike.
My money.
Well, as far as the money part with the growing up, it was never discussed. But on my end, I mostly saw an example of what I may want to do or not want to do growing up. So number one, I did not want to have my kids growing up in a single family home. So that was one. Number two, I was going to have my kids growing up discussing finances. I did not discuss finances with my mom growing up. So I'll make sure I want to have my kids, understand how to spend their money, how to save their money. So on my end, I kind of learned, things of, what that wasn't happening. I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I do that so that my kids can have a better understanding of, finances growing up.
Yeah. And we also agreed that our kids, we don't want them to enter into debt. Like, we need them to be set up, so like, even with having credit, like we added our oldest son onto our credit card so that he can already have his credit established. So for us, it's like he said, we don't want our kids to go into the world and start at the bottom. Like, they need to already have a leg up.
Wow, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Right. My mom actually did that for me. So I had a great credit when I left my house and I didn't even do anything for it.
See?
Yeah.
Very good.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Megan.
well, I was going to just share that for my testimony, I didn't grow up in a household where I felt that money was appreciated. So let's say if you wanted a pair of shoes, a nice pair of shoes or a nice dress, and even if there was something that was due, to me, and this is just as a child looking at it, if they felt it was deserved, then they were going to get the dress. They were going to get the shoes, overpaying the bill. Okay, and this is just what I observed. Maybe they would disagree, but that's, I saw a lot more waste than I did see of saving, of being wise with money. Yes, a lot was given to the church. My mom is a pastor, so of course there's tithes, there's offering, but above that, I didn't see a lot of wise spending. So coming into this relationship, we've known each other for forever. And what I learned about his family after being in our relationship is that his family believed that if you could not afford it, you didn't get it. And I didn't grow up that way. Like I said, if you wanted that pair of shoes or you wanted that dress, that's what you did. So if you wanted that hairdo or whatever. But when I understood how wasteful spending can hurt your family, I needed to sit myself down and be taught what to do. So I came in needing to be taught how to appreciate a dollar, how to understand how the dollar works in a sense of this is how you build up your family, or this is how you build up your savings, or this is how you pay off your debt. So I had to, one, have that teachable spirit, but also be, willing to sit and be taught those things. And now I'm so much better. And of course, I appreciate the dollar so much more because I'm never out to hurt my family. I'm always asking, can I do this and can I do that prior to making a big purchase? Because again, if it means that I want this over a light bill being paid, then now do we sit in the dark because I needed to look cute? What kind of foolishness is that? Really, we really, our priorities have to be straight when it comes to money.
Wow.
And, so I'm grateful to have been taught.
But there's a lot of people that we know not making wise decisions out there. Just like I know for a fact, one of the busiest days for Walmart was right after they got the stimulus check. So I was there that day when people was shopping, and you would expect to see more, maybe more food, because people wasn't working. Right. But actually, I saw more toys, and I saw more leisure entertainment stuff, more PlayStations, and more games, and more stuff like that. Instead of using that money as if you weren't gonna get a check for a while, some people did the right thing. Other people just took advantage and wanted to just get what they wanted. And I get it. Sometimes you just feel like you want to get something for yourself and you could never afford to do it. You just feel like I finally got a lump sum of money where I can finally get something for myself. I haven't done it in 5 years. Thank the Lord. At the same time, we have to be wise, especially during this time, because 40 million people lost their job. 40 million people is not having a check coming in right now. And although it was only like $1,200 for most people, that doesn't cover a whole month in most households. That only covers a couple of weeks, maybe, People are really need a lot of money to make ends meet. So now that we got the history of the backdrop of you guys, with your parents and the examples, whether good or bad, that you saw, what did you bring into your marriage in terms of debt? All right, we know how your parents lived, and you saw that, and now you're getting ready to get married, and you're bringing what they call baggage. Everybody brings a certain amount of, no matter if it's good baggage or bad baggage, it's baggage. Okay. What were you aware of each other's financial situation, the credit score? Were you aware of the debt? Were you aware of the debt ratio? Were you aware of the school loan? Maybe I know people with school loans in like 6 figures. It's up there. Were you aware of those things? We'll start with Jermaine.
So we knew what we were getting into, but with time, details kind of unfolded. Like back when we were just in the dating phase, I ended up finding out about my wife's debt, like by accident. No,
I wasn't ready. He was being nosy. Okay.
I was just cleaning her room, and you're organizing papers to put them in the right place, and it's like, whoa, what's this? I've never seen collections before. Yes, it was like that. But it's crazy how, when we actually sat down and did budgets, we actually saw how I had way more debt than anyone else, for the sole fact that my car was the biggest thing, and I just got a Honda Civic. But before that, I had a car that I hadn't finished paying off. So that whatever you don't finish paying off, that's what you call upside down. So right. I owed whatever that amount, like $6,000 on top of a good price for a new car I got. So it's like I have 20, pretty much 30 grand of debt just right there. And then I was maxed out on my credit cards. You name it, I had it. Greens, beans, potatoes, everything. That's all of that. Yeah.
So you brought that in.
Yeah, I brought that in.
So now, were you aware of that, Deborah?
I was. We were very transparent after he got nosy. We were pretty transparent about that.
he got nosy, huh?
Yeah, we were pretty open. I myself had my student loans and a few credit cards. I didn't have as much on my credit cards. My biggest problem was my student loans. But also, I had a car, which was perfectly fine. I mean, it started giving, headaches here and there. But I'm like, you know what? Instead of spending a few more thousands on an older car, I had this new job. I got all this extra cash, and I wasn't in a debt paying mindset yet. So I was like, you know what? Let me just buy another car. Why not? Like, this car is getting old. It is getting old. It's 97, but it still works. It's fine.
97?
Yeah, I still got it. That's what I'm saying.
Old. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I went ahead and purchased another car just because I felt like I deserved it, you know? So
She's
that
listening to me.
added.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about debt. So when I came in the marriage, I had my student loans, and I also had a second car loan and a few credit cards here and there. But long story short, we were very aware of each other's finances, and we had a plan. We were determined to, moving forward, tackle it. So yeah.
So that plan, was it before you got married? You had a plan, or did you wait till after you got married to talk about the plan?
Kind of like that, because we didn't really have a plan, but we knew we wanted to like knock it out. That's pretty much what it was. But then when we got, counseled with you guys, and then after a few months married, we got into the Dave Ramsey stuff, and then it just, escalated from there. We just went ham, and we paid off a lot of stuff. We're still paying off stuff. But
Awesome.
Good. You guys doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike and Rosa?
Well, ours is easy. We had no debt. I was 19 when we got married, and Mike was, I think, 21. We had no debt.
All right, that's good.
Awesome. Did you all
We
talk
got
about money?
together. We talked about money, but we didn't talk about it before we got married. We just kind of jumped in. But I think we knew that each other didn't have debt because I was just like so young and he was young. So, we didn't have our own places at the time. We were still with parents and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So like, since you guys have been married 13 years, you've got to have had some disagreements concerning money, although you didn't have any debt in the beginning, but now obviously you have a car and I'm quite sure some other debt. I mean, a house and cars, but mainly you got a house payment now and other things came in, kids come into play, all that kind of stuff. How do you guys handle, do you have any, and how do you handle disagreements?
We don't really have disagreements as far as money often. It's either we
say, right?
Yeah, it's happy wife, happy life.
That's it.
It's either we can or we can't. And if we do have a disagreement, Rosa's pretty good as far as like laying it down and showing me why this does not make sense or why we cannot do this at this time. And let's come up with a better plan to do it in the future. But, so our disagreements are really short if we have any.
And then if it's one that he keeps, like he'll listen, but then he'll bring it up sometimes like a month later or so. So then I just have to call reinforcement and, I'll call, you guys, or, I'll say, hey, we need to schedule to sit down to talk to somebody. He's like, no, you won. It's fine. We don't got to talk. You won. It's okay. I don't got to have it. It's good. And I'm like, no, I don't want it to be that way. Let's talk because maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Because, when you get to a good place, and you think you're good, you don't sometimes understand why you still have to have restrictions when you're good. And so we did have to bring in some extra help so that I could be more understand his perspective and not just lay the hammer down and step back and play my position as helpmate and wife and not, dictator. So I had to change my mindset a bit as well. And then he also had to, change his mindset too. So yeah.
Y'all able to come to pretty much a compromise and agreement without it getting into a brawl.
Right. Yeah. I don't think we've ever had a brawl about finances or a fight. It would just be like, like he said, it's either you win or I say, no, let's bring in reinforcement. So there was never really a flat out, I'm not talking to you type argument about money.
Yeah. That's good because, one of the reasons for divorces in America, you guys know, is three things. It's either finances, it's infidelity, or it's communication. And what I found out about finances is that it's not really the money that's the issue why people break up, but it's how they choose to communicate about the money.
Right.
That's the issue. Money's never been an issue because money's not good or evil. It's just a commodity.
Right.
It's what we do with it,
Right.
how we use it, and how we talk about it. That
Mhm.
becomes a problem.
Right.
Because come on, we know people that that got a lot of money still get divorced, and we know people that's broke stay married.
Mhm.
So if that was the deciding factor, then things wouldn't be the way they are.
Yeah.
But it's not the deciding factor. But how we choose to communicate about it becomes the deciding factor.
Mhm.
So with the Waldens, what about you guys? Disagreements, how do you have any, and how do you handle it when it comes up?
Well, I would say we've had one, and it was probably just a hard decision after we had spoke to you guys, because you guys had a hard conversation asking us, well, telling us that, hey, this is what your finances look like from our perspective, and just you got to get rid of some stuff, or you got to bring in more income. If you can't bring in more income fast enough, you got to get rid of some stuff. So I think the biggest disagreement we had, but we ended up still agreeing on it because we had help, like Rosa said, was giving up, doing a voluntary repossession of
I
a
don't
car.
think we agreed. I think God stepped in because I was not about to let go of my car.
Mhm.
What? No.
But with God's help, we did.
Yeah.
But I would say, as far as disagreements, kind of like how it goes in our house, we don't have disagreements because I always pull the trump card, I like to call it, because if we're able to discuss it, the chances are it's not a need. Because needs in our house, there's no discussion. You don't even need to talk about it. It's taken care of. If it's light, water, a phone bill needs to be paid, something needs to be repaired, there's no conversation. We have money to the side for that. When it's up for discussion, it's already like, oh, if that's what it is, I guess we'll just wait. We gotta wait.
Yeah, we did call them twice though.
Yes, we
And
did.
I won both times for the record.
Yes, 2 times for the winner.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, and you guys already know this about him. He is a man that does not like debt. And I understand that, but he is also someone that is so desperate to get rid of it that it will leave us with almost nothing. So, for instance, if you get a bonus, let's say $5,000, and I'm like, oh, good. All right, so babe, I think we should put at least 500 of that away, or we should plan to do this, or we should plan to do that. And he's like, babe, that's already gone. I paid the credit card, I paid this. And I'm like, all of it is gone. All of it is gone. But that is how, wait, that's how he thinks. That's how his brain works. And I remember even sometimes we had done some upgrades in the house. And there were times when I would say at the end of the school year, I want to go on vacation. We worked really hard and I really want to go on vacation this year. And he would say, babe, the tile is the vacation. or this brand new room is a vacation, whatever it was, but what he was really doing, it wasn't, when you're in the moment, you feel like it's something mean, and it hurts because you're thinking, you just don't want me to have a vacation, but that's not it. He was helping me to understand that if you're sacrificing, like if we had saved the money to redo the tile, or we saved the money to redo the bathroom, and how much everything costs, God have mercy. But when we would do those things, he wanted me to understand that when you put it in perspective, you get what that sacrifice means. So the good thing with the last project we did in the house, which was updating our bathroom, he took me on every trip. Let's go pick out the tile together. Let's go pick out the faucets. Let's go pick out, the lights, the lighting that the recess lighting. Let's go pick. So I got to see firsthand how much everything cost. And like I said, Lord have mercy. Yeah. It's a lot of money. It really is. It's a lot of money. So I understood. So of course, we couldn't go on vacation this summer because of COVID, but we wouldn't have been able to go anyway because of the bathroom. So,
because it's a sacrifice. Because a lot of times we think that, well, this is what she would do. She would say, oh, let's get a new let's update this room, right? So we might go in one of the bedrooms, let's say we change the tile or we change the carpet, we paint the walls, get new lights. And then the next month, she forgot that we spent that money over there
I didn't forget.
and she wanted to go do something else, or go on vacation or go do something else with, and the thing is, we already spent the money we had. It hasn't come back in yet. So a lot of those vacations that we could not take is because I'm trying to recoup the money, or anything that I put on a credit card, I still got that debt. So to me, if I redo the house with tile and that debt is still on the card, when money comes in, I want to get rid of that. That's not paid
That's
off
the
yet.
first thing he wants to do. He's like,
You know.
babe, you forgot about Home Depot. You forgot about
No,
this.
she's ready to go
You forgot-
here, go there, because
Oh
the
my
tile is done. She think when the
God.
tile is done,
We're
that
done.
we're done. No.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, as the men probably feel it a lot more than the women. I'll say that with a grain of salt, because there's some women that feel it just as much. But as a man, we are in our minds, the one that's going to feel the debt on our shoulders a lot more than the women, regardless if we make more or not. That's irrelevant. Just being the man, we're going to feel it more, even if our wife is the one that's making more money, because we make about the same amount of money. So it's not like we feel it the same though. I still feel it more. So as a man, it's my responsibility to make sure that I eliminate that stress. She don't feel, when she's at the mall or at the store, she's not feeling the stress of the bills coming in because I handle it. Okay. So which one of you is the money managers in your household? And are you feeling the stress being the money manager, or is it the spouse that feels it more? Jermaine, what about you guys? Who's the money manager and who feels the stress more?
I get 2 golden stars because I just got both answers. That's me. I'm both. I'm both.
Okay.
Well, when let's just say before COVID, I used to like budgeting because I knew what was coming in. But now it's more like you can't really predict the future, so that's why he just does everything like.
Because you can't predict the future. I like
Yeah,
that.
he just makes it happen. So I'm just like, yeah, I'll just wait.
You leave it to him. He handles it. You're happy. So if he says there's no money for that, does he show you the books, or do you like?
No, I mean, we share.
She has access to the
We
book.
share the bank account. Like
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
the same access to it as he does, but I don't always look at it. I just be like, hey, I want to buy this. He'll be like, why you asking me? Go look at the account. Like, but yeah, we talk about it if it's like big or something we really need to like talk about.
Okay. What about the Berries? Who's the money manager? And does the money manager feel the stress of it, or does the other spouse still feel the stress of it?
Well, Rosa is definitely the money manager.
Okay.
I'm more so the money producer. She'll tell me, she'll give me a number that we need, and I'll figure out how to get that number. I don't feel the stress of it because it's rarely a thought for me.
That's why she's the money manager.
Yeah, I just make the money and I let her deal with it. And then
Listen.
she'll tell me, okay, you can't do this because we have that, and I'm like, well, I made this amount, and she's like, yeah, but these are the bills. So,
Well, what happens is marriage is a workplace, okay? A workshop. He work, I shop. Something like that.
Okay, that's different.
I like that.
So what happens is in the beginning of our marriage, I did everything. Like he said, he works, make the money. I budgeted out. I was going to school. I wasn't working. He was bringing home all the bacon. And I still have the budget books all the way from 2007, 8, all the books I still have.
Wow.
And what happens is he would get frustrated. And it was like this up until the last 3 years. I did everything. And then we did a counseling session with you all. And you was like, well, Rosa, show him the books. Like, show him and help him understand why he cannot get a motorcycle. Help him understand why this can't happen. And so that nugget, it sounds like common sense, but at the time I wasn't really sharing it with him because he had no interest in it. I was just more so directing. And now that, like I said, the last 3 years, he kind of manages it, like I see what comes in and I know what comes in and stuff like that, but he has an app on his phone, and I kind of just, once I showed him like, this is what it is, and we got out of certain debt, I gave it over to him. And so now I'm like stress free. I check in from time to time with him, but my goal was when we get to a certain point of we don't have these couple of bills no more, then I'm good. Like, I don't have these little bills, honey, handle it. And so he handles it now. And so that's just pretty much it. He handles it and the bills are paid and I'm less stressed. So, but in the beginning, up until the last 3 years, it was very stressful because it would be a tug of war because he didn't understand because I wasn't really explaining the books to him. So.
And all it was communication.
Yeah.
That's what it is the majority of the time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that when we know that we have something big that has to be paid off, or we have a goal in mind, like when we had to pay off $30,000 worth of debt, and we did it in just a matter of months. What he did is he put down everything that we owed and put from smallest to largest and taped it on the refrigerator. And as we met every goal, it would get crossed off. And so we would celebrate those little things. Of course, the celebrations had to be in-house.
We're going nowhere.
We're going on vacation.
Oh my God.
We're going nowhere.
If we were going to get ice cream, it was going to be a cone from McDonald's, like a 50 cents, it was just.
And we got to share it.
But,
We're sharing that.
but he was just showing me that was what was necessary until we get ourselves where we need to be.
But you said something about celebration. Like, how does that look? Because when we paid off some things last couple months or whatever, like our car and stuff like that, he was like, he put on the calendar, like, celebration, let's go out and eat. And I'm like, why? Why? What we celebrating for? We still got this other thing we got to do.
All right.
Help me to understand. Like, I know, like, you need to take a moment and say, yes, pat on the back, but I'm just like, I'm not that. I need help in that area, I guess, because I'm not that person, I guess.
Okay.
I'm always looking for a reason to celebrate.
So help me. How do we balance that? Because I'm like, no. I'm like the no. So is that good? Is that what do we like? He wants to celebrate. I'm like, for what?
I feel you, Michael.
I want to celebrate because I feel like I worked hard and I made all this money and I paid off that large debt. And to me, be encouraged to keep on doing this, I need to celebrate.
Okay, you notice how he don't speak French. We made money. He don't speak no French. You know what I'm saying?
No French.
Like, I thought we took a second language in high school, but maybe I was wrong. But we worked hard. We made money. We paid off debt. So I guess we need some advice in that regard on how to celebrate, because I'm like, no. He's like, yes. Is there something that we can do, I guess, to meet in the middle with celebrating that's not going to get me cringing and that's going to also satisfy him? Like,
we have to book a session.
Food. That is how we celebrate.
But he want to go to
He
restaurants.
he wanted to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
I don't see this is me. I don't see a sin in that. Granted, Michael, if the meal isn't $1,000, I don't see the sin in having a celebratory meal.
But I'm good with Chili's. I'm good with going to Chili's, spending the $10, get the 3 for $10. He want to go to like get something off South Beach, like
yeah.
$200.
Michael, I'm with you. The lights are still on, and there's gas in the car. We're good.
Okay. I feel like if you guys have budgeted for that and you have an entertainment budget, you know what your budget looks like. You have a certain amount of money in that budget. As long as you are not going to use up everything in that budget to do that. If you're planning on a vacation, then obviously you may not be able to do it. But let's say you're not planning on going to Disney World or nothing like that, and you have an entertainment budget, and it's at you got $150 in there, and he wants to take you somewhere other than a fast food restaurant, and it might be something nice on South Beach. Then yes, he's right. He wants to take his wife out to someplace nice. That's what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Keyword is wife. You know what I'm saying? Right. And he wants to do that with you and to go somewhere different. That's how you keep the spice in the marriage when you do things outside of the norm. Because if McDonald's is the norm, nothing wrong with it. But if that's the norm, or if Chili's is the norm, then every once in a while you got to go outside of that so you have something to look back on. Some of the things that me and Dawn always, when we think back of the things that we've done, we always go back to an exciting trip that we went on that we don't normally do. And we still think back to the first time my centers, we went for a massage, and it was at the Doral. And we stayed there that night, and she had the massage during that next day. We stayed there the whole day. And, you know, we haven't gone back, but that was one of the most exciting, different places that we've been. And sometimes you just got to spend a little bit more, have an experience that you might do. It might be once in a lifetime. But because of that one time, we always say, okay, next year we want to do something different. So each year we try to do something different. Last few years,
if it's in the budget.
if it's in the budget. But
I owe him a
If not, it's this. This is a massage parlor.
yeah, I'm gonna give her a massage. Give her my own massage. Let's say $200. But yeah, let him do that, because he's right. You know, on his job it is stressful, and every once in a while he wants to say, okay, we did pay this off.
Right.
Let's celebrate that achievement without blowing the budget.
Right.
As long as you guys are not going to blow the budget, it's fine. And every once in a while, you should do that, as long as it's within reason and it's within the budget. Enjoy life. It's a part of enjoying life. So give each other that. Let's say it's not for you, but it's for him. Then do that for him. That's something that he needs. And then later on, there could be an area that you need that he'll be willing to bend on, because it's not for him, but it's for you.
Right.
You agree with that, Jermaine?
Oh yeah.
And Deborah?
Michael said yes. That's awesome.
That's it. That's good. That's good.
I guess it goes back to your upbringing. I'm all like, money's meant to be saved, not spent. I gotta kind of like.
Some of it is going to be spent. You know, because the Lord does want us to enjoy ourselves. He wants us to be good stewards. But like we said, if it's budgeted, if it's in the budget to do so, then do it. You know, you don't have to be hoarders of more money. You know, money is, you know, by the grace of God, will keep flowing in. And it's like, if you are being a good steward over it, you'll have it. You know, I would love to say that, you know, my family has saved enough to kind of help themselves now, because a lot of us are older. But there are some family members that are very good stewards, and then there are others that are not. And I just wish they all had it, you know, that we all could be there together.
So, you know, I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. And I think both of you are, or will be soon, if not already.
They are.
Before we close out the segment, I got a couple more questions to ask you. And one of them is on prayer, actually. Do you guys pray before making major purchases? How do you handle if it's a major purchase? If you know you want to spend a certain amount of money, do you check with your spouse? Do you have a limit where you say, hey, okay, you could spend this without a problem, but anything after this amount, you got to check with me first? Do you guys have a threshold? And when you get to that threshold, do you pray about it if it's a large purchase? You know, a large purchase don't have to be a house. It could be whatever your household determines what that large number is.
Well, we used to have a threshold back when things were a lot harder, where we had a lot more bills than we had money or income.
And debt.
And debt, yeah. But since we've paid off like probably over 30 grand, maybe way more. Actually, well, now it's easily 40 grand of debt. Like
in 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know how. But that's so we answered part 2 to take it back to part 1. So
before we were like at $20 just because we were really
anything over $20
saving to pay off debt. But now we don't really talk about like a limit. We just know what not to do. That's gonna be stupid.
If you have that thought in the back of your head, you gotta say something. You gotta say something. And
I just naturally always tell him, just because like I know he handles the bills and stuff. Like I don't even remember if like rent is paid. I just be like, oh, babe, did you pay rent? It's like you're like 2 weeks late. I'm just like, oh my bad. Like I don't handle this stuff. So when I have to pay for something that's like a little bit more than I'm used to normally purchasing, I just be like, hey, so I'm trying to buy this on Amazon. He'll just be like, why are you asking me? Like, just buy it. If you need it, buy it.
I mean, it's a baby, like, you know,
Right.
the things for the drawer so the baby doesn't open everything and things don't fall on her. I'm like, you don't need to ask me for
It's
that.
the
That's a
small things that I just like to ask, even though I know I don't have to.
I
It's
like
just I feel like I need to be aware of what's going on in and out of the account before we have to like maybe return something. Not that we need to, but I just feel like we need to be there, you know?
But to take it back to the first part, we don't yeah, this might be good or bad, but we don't pray over, you know, even big purchases, only because in my mind how it works out is the principle of what I'm doing with what comes in anyways. Because in my mind it was taught to me that my money's always going to have a covering once I give my money over to the submission of God by, you know, committing whatever percentage every time something comes in to God himself. Because that when I do that, it's as if it's a representation of 100% of everything I have going to God. So there's always a mentality that like my money always has a covering on it. So, you know, I just feel like a part of the tithing and offering and just giving whenever I feel like the Holy Spirit leads us to, you know, like that kind of, you know,
Covers
keeps
all of
us from praying. Yeah, it kind of covers, you know, praying over it, because then we get into the things that we can see and then talking ourselves out of what we know versus what we see, you know, and
Okay. Okay. I
that's
understand
our
that.
take. Yeah.
Okay. The Berries, what you guys say? Do you have a threshold, like this amount? Anything over that? We'll talk about it. Anything under that, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and get it. And do you pray about large purchases?
So in the beginning, it was just like the Waldens, you know, it was like that $20, like we had to check in. Like if you want to go get a sandwich at Burger King or something, you know, it was kind of like, oh, he would call me, hey, can I go to Burger King? He would call me constantly because I was in charge of the budget of even about little small things because we were just so tight and just like not where we needed to be. Right now, I would say it's no more than like $40, although that's not set in stone. The reason I say that is because he'll never go on Amazon and spend more than $40 without letting me know. So like he has honestly an Amazon issue, but we praying over that. And like he got an Amazon card here right now. Like, while y'all was in the thing, he was activating this Amazon gift card that he got for doing a survey. Like, so it's literally, he has an Amazon, but we talked about his Amazon issue. And so now he's a little more hesitant when he just started putting stuff on Amazon. So he'll put it in the cart and then he'll say, babe, I got some stuff in the cart. When can
That's
I
what
cash
I
out?
do. That's what I do. I'm like, hey, go look at the cart.
And so he'll put stuff on hold. So, but he will order some things from Amazon. Stuff will come, but I would say no more than like $40. So is it set in stone? No, but anything over $50, you know, I'm looking at him out the side of my eye. Even though he pays the bills, I still micromanage sometimes, and I like check over stuff. So yeah, so that's what that is with the threshold, right? We don't really, yeah.
Correct. And as far as the prayer, we don't always pray before we make large purchases. If you make a super large purchase, like a car, or like you said, a house, or maybe even doing renovations, and we're doing, you know, getting contractors and put half down and stuff like that. We'll, you know, honestly, we don't really pray before we do because we feel like we done our research and it seems to be good, so we're just gonna go ahead and get it. And
yeah, and we're tithers. We pay our tithes and offerings. Yeah. So you know, the same perspective that Jermaine has, it's kind of like our perspective as well. Whether that's wrong or not, we don't know, but that's how we operate. But obviously, when we were purchasing our home, I'm talking prayer and fasting, like 100% the home. Even with the car, we had to pray for God to help us find it and figure it out. So in those cases, yes, but like renovations or, you know, picking out tile or things like that, honestly, we don't just, you know, stop and pray about it. We just kind of see where do we have the money, you know, to get it. So
yeah, that is what most people do. I would probably just encourage all of us because, you know, we've been guilty of the same. Listen, we want to get some tile, we just go to the store, buy some tile, pay it, kind of lay it. But God wants to be involved in everything we do. even the little thing, you know, it's like if we leave them out of the little things and just have them for the big things, you know, I always wonder how does that really make him feel? But he wants to be involved in every aspect of our lives. He wants to be in the small rooms of our life and the big rooms in our life. So I would just encourage you to bring him along, even on small things, because he can show you a better deal. He can show you a better way.
Right.
And he might bless you in a way that you hadn't thought of. Of course, you can handle yourself and it comes out fine because he is over it all. He's a part of your life, but he would probably just want to be consulted on the smaller things too. Y'all agree? Jermaine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm also a little bit guilty of kind of leaning on you guys or my financial advisors a little bit, because now that you say that, like we called you about like, oh, should we use a claim or should we pay out of pocket when we're, you know, doing some renovations in the house? And then we sought your counsel in that, even though that wasn't like a large decision, it was kind of medium sized.
Right.
Maybe we should have prayed.
Yeah.
Like,
That
maybe we
helps
should have
too.
prayed.
It does help. It does help, especially if you're going to have like renovations, let's say, and you're going to have people in your home. You know, we know that everybody isn't walking with the Lord, and not that you have to in order to do a good job. Understand that. We understand that you can have people that are not walking with the Lord and they can still come in and do a great job, but you want to just make sure that you're covering your home, you're covering them, the work that they are doing, right? Because you want it to be pleasing. In the end, I want you to know what my standards are, you know, in this home, and that they will agree to what you are asking for. So it's just including the Lord. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
when we pay our tithes, I want you to know that you guys are doing a great job. You're paying your tithes and your offering. A lot of people's mindset is that, you know, the 10% belongs to God and the 90% belongs to me. But just like you guys said, all of it is his.
Right.
All of it is his. He just requires us to do the 10% just to see where our obedience is. It's all about obedience because he doesn't need any of our money. He can't do anything with any of our money. But when we give it to him, then he blesses us in return and blesses everything else. He blesses the 90 because of the 10.
Right.
You know? That's what happens. He blesses the 90.
Right.
I know what you're saying, Jermaine. You don't specifically say, Lord, should I go to McDonald's or should I go to Burger King? You know, we don't do that. But, you know, because we prayed over all of our money, however we spend it, you know, God is a part of it. God is a part of it. I got one last question. This is interesting. Couples that are watching you, you know, either in church or online, are watching this panel discussion that's not married yet, and they're about to get married. What advice would you give them concerning debt that their soon-to-be spouse currently has? What should they look out for? What red flags would you be like, watch out for them? Is it a problem if they have a lot of debt? Is it not a problem if they have a lot of debt if they got a job? Does it matter if they got a job? What advice would you give them? And you know they're in a situation financially with job situation, money situation, debt situation, and they want to get married. What would you tell them? We'll start with the berries.
I would tell the couple it's not a problem unless you have a plan. If there's a plan set in place to execute paying off the debt, or you can see yourself in the future 5 years from now where the debt is cleared some kind of way, then I would say, you know, that's fine. But if you're just in debt and you're still adding on debt and there's no plan to get out of debt, that's a problem. That's definitely a red flag for me.
Yes. We didn't have this issue, but I would say that being that marriages do break up over finances and stuff like that, just to be on the safe side, honestly, if you don't have debt and the person you're about to marry has debt, honestly, I would say you probably should find somebody else to marry. Honestly, that's just my personal opinion. It might not be right. It's just like it could cause so much trouble, and because why do you have debt is the question. Are you an excessive spender? Do you buy on impulse? Do you have an addiction? What are you bringing into the marriage? What debt is that? Are you a career student and you just keep going to school because you know you don't want to work and you just have this money like from school and you're just acquiring debt, like why does that person have debt? Y'all need to have that discussion. Like, why do you have debt? Do you plan on continuing to have debt? Are you going to pay this debt? Because it has to be like balance. Like, you know, if you guys have the same amount of debt, obviously, you know, have a plan, get it together. But if one has more debt than the other, in my opinion, I feel that's going to be kind of sort of maybe a deal breaker, because and I think some people will hold resentment. Like if you're trying to pay off your debt and they don't have debt, that could cause issues like, oh, that's not my problem, or that's you brought that in here type thing. And that could be conflict. So I would say pray about it, get counseling, have a plan beforehand. Do not enter into a marriage and there's debt, because you're going to say it's okay and it's fine and y'all love each other and it's good, and then down the line, no, it's not going to be good. It's going to cause a problem. That's my opinion. So yeah.
Wow. All right, very good, very good. Walters, what you think?
Well, I know I definitely agree with having the plan and pretty much just not so much, you know, like on the deep end, how Rosa went, but I would just say just communicating about it just to see where their heart's at. Because if you're someone who you're ready to get serious with someone and you're not able to identify every debt that your spouse has is now yours. So when you talk about your debt and you paid off your half, like, and to talk like, oh, I'm debt free, it's like, no, like that's not how it's gonna be. Everything that is hers is now yours, and vice versa. But I think the most important thing, because, you know, we don't know the situation and what kind of tragedies came about, how many accidents someone has been in, why they're in the situation. I think the most important thing at that starter level is to make sure you have an emergency fund, because they will happen. And because I do believe that marriages are ordained by God, they get attacked from an early time. Like I personally believe that they get attacked early on. So just having an emergency fund can just prepare you for what, you know, like, you know, is going to happen. There's going to be something, a tire is going to pop, or you're just going to need to change it before it's too late. You know, just to have that money on the side, it literally keeps the gray hairs away, like from what we've seen. Like the day that we got an emergency fund, we haven't had an emergency until just 1 month ago.
Wow.
Over a year, we didn't have anything pop off, nothing touch it. I believe that there's actually even a spiritual covering over preparing for a rainy day, because I feel like that's like the heart of Proverbs and all the money conversations is like, don't start building things before you count the cost. Like, it's like, no, you're prepared for an emergency, so it doesn't have to touch the bill money. And then you have to figure out how am I going to pay this bill, because just to handle a need. Like, I crashed the car, so what? It happens, you know. Like, I think an emergency fund is probably one of the biggest deal breakers. Like at least $1,000, like per person, just
Per person.
per person,
Not together. Per person.
per person.
So you need to have $1,000 in an emergency fund. Okay.
Another thing, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Backing up, of course, what Barry and Jermaine said, I think it is very important to understand if the person is done acquiring debt. Because, like, you could pay off your debt 100 times, but are you still acquiring more debt, you know? But aside from that, another thing that people don't really think about, some individuals are moms and dads of other people, and they like to help. Like, being co-signed on anything that is not, it really has nothing to do with you. Just the fact that your name is on somebody else's debt. I think that's a very important thing. Like, let's say if I had debt with, I don't know, my brother, and then I got married with Jermaine, now he got to deal with this debt if, you know, something happens and my brother can't pay for it, you know, something like that. So I feel like that's a problem, and it could also even be a problem with the third party person that you're co-signed with. So I think that's a flag too.
I definitely have that as one of my discussion points. I was thinking maybe we may not have time to get to it, but since you brought it up, that's very serious, because unless you guys have a discussion about that now, when that comes up, people can take offense to it. Why do you don't want to help my mama? Why do you don't want to help my brother? Because now it gets personal, because now that's my family member, and that's blood now. And you know, I don't want to help your mom because she can't pay nobody back. You know what I'm saying? She ain't got no job. That's why I don't want to help her. So you got to decide now if there's somebody that has a real need, how far will you extend yourself? Will I help? Yes, I will help. How much will I help?
Right.
Not until I feel pain. I'm not going to feel it. The thing is, whatever I give someone, it's going to have to be a gift. But my dad always did this. My dad's never loaned anybody any money. If he gives it to you, it's yours.
Right.
He's not asking for it back. He's not expecting it back. He don't want it back. Because when you don't pay it back,
Right.
now we got a problem. We mad at each other. We supposed to be family, now I'm mad at you because you ain't paid me back my money. And we get personal when we say my money, you know how we act. So it's better to have a discussion about that, because one day somebody may need your help. It could be a friend, it could be a family, and you don't want to leave them destitute or with an eviction notice when they the lights are off and they need something to help the lights come on. If I give you something to help your lights come on, that's it. I don't want it back, because now you got to try to pay me back and pay next month at the same. No, don't worry about it. It's a blessing. Keep it. That way we good. That's what I do. But if I got to extend myself so much where now I need it back and you can't pay it back, now we got a problem, because now you put me in a position that now I can't take care of my household because I took care of your household. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really good, because a lot of friendships are broken up over co-signing. Be careful with that co-signing stuff, because when you call yourself helping out a friend, no, you bought that car. That car's yours.
Yep.
You co-sign for somebody that is your debt, because the bank is coming after you. You can't tell the bank, well, I just was helping them out co-signing. The bank was like, well, now that you helped them out, you owe us.
Right.
And that will keep you from doing the things that you want to do. That's why my whole thing is no for co-signing altogether. Because if you can't afford to get it on your own, then you can't afford to get it.
Just wait. Just wait.
You wait like the rest
Just
of the people
Right,
do.
right.
Save and wait.
And my thing too is, like you said, have that discussion about whether you're going to assist that family member or that friend or whatever. And I would even say go as far as have a plan B in the event that this is a loan. If there's a plan B in place, that just in case that person is not able or just does not pay it back, it's not hurting us now.
Right.
See, that's why I didn't want to lend it to them. You understand? So let's have a plan B. If we agree that we're going to help this person out as a loan and we are expecting to get it back, and now it's been 5 years and we still haven't gotten it back, are we speaking? You know, you don't want it where it creates such a divide. And now, you know, not only are they looking at those family members or those friends crooked, they're looking at you crooked, because they're like, you're the one that put us out here.
Right.
You know, so
a lot of times those same people that you loan the money to, all of a sudden don't know your number no more. All of a sudden they ain't calling you no more. You don't see them no more. You know what I'm saying? And then you see them at the mall buying stuff. You're like, you owe me money. How you gonna be buying something at the mall? You owe me money.
On a cruise somewhere.
I actually had an experience. It's a while back. It's very small, but it's just the fact of, because I didn't give it and I loaned it, even if it wasn't that much. I'm over here watching the person like living their best life out in a whole different country, and I'm like, but you still owe me, you know, like.
You know what I'm saying? You see them on Facebook, you know, at the mall. They're like, hey, spend it with your money. You know what I'm saying? Come on, that ain't even right. Instagram got pictures with their new sneakers on. Come on.
We don't do loans in our household only because it changes the relationship.
Yeah.
It changes the relationship. Like even right now, like we have someone using our second car. You know, just to be a blessing, because we only need one right now. The way that our lives are, we only need one. So to be a blessing to someone else, it's awesome. But then the few requirements that comes with that loaning of even just a thing, it's like it changes the relationship, and we hate it, because you end up seeing how people they start avoiding you when they don't want to tell you the truth. You know, like if someone hit the car, you know, they take too long to contact. It's like, why didn't you just tell us? You know what I mean?
Now it's the problem, because you waited, a month to tell me that.
And now we can't file a claim for you. We can't, we can't do the right process. It's like, look, we don't believe in loans. It changes the relationship, and it's not for the better. So just we don't have it to give, I'm sorry, we're not ready to, we can't help you right
Yeah.
I
For
agree.
us, we just get it's kind of like we don't give what we can't afford to lose.
Right.
That's
That's
our
it.
motto.
That's it.
That's it.
Very good.
That's it.
Very good.
All right, on that note, I want to thank you guys. You guys have
Yes,
done
thank you so
great.
much.
You guys have come a long ways. Both of you are Dave Ramsey fans, right? Y'all
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey?
Yes. But I wanted to say, it was like one thing that really helps us just in general is we have 3 accounts. I don't know, you account for our bills, account for savings, and account for just, leisure at 3 separate banks. And I know that has been life-changing for us. So hopefully that kind of helps somebody.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes you have to do that. And the main thing that we have, one thing we always said when we did this conference, the title was One Bed, One Budget. If we could share the bed together, why can't we share the budget together or money together? Why we gotta have, just my bills belong to me, your bills belong to you, but we in the same bed. That don't make sense to me.
No,
That's not God's design.
Right.
no.
That's it. It doesn't mean that she can't have her own savings, because when she wants to buy me something for my birthday and she wants it to be a surprise, if it shows up in our joint checking, I'm gonna see it.
Right.
But she has her own savings to get her hair done and do something she want to do without having to worry about the main money for the account, for the bills. So that's where we separate things. But we always put our money together, pay the main bills out of that, and then sometimes she'll have her own money on the side to do what she want to do, and she won't have to answer for that. That's what she wants. Whatever she want to do, I don't say anything. That's hers. But everybody works that out differently. Some people prefer it in cash. Let me have the money in cash, and others have a separate account. And however you do it, that's fine, as long as you have unity.
Right.
The account doesn't bring unity, even with your name on it. The account doesn't bring unity. The communication brings unity.
That's good.
That's the first thing that be unified.
Very good.
And then if you can have the agreement to put your name on the same account, that bonds it. That's better, because it's a trust issue. If I don't want her name on my account, why not? Do I not trust her? There's a reason why I don't want her name on my account. But as long as we have an agreement, we think that's the first thing that it should have.
Very good.
But yeah, that's a very good point, Rosa, because a lot of couples, they do need that. And there's so many other issues that we can talk about and get into for hours to come, but we're gonna close it out. And I just want to thank both of you guys for joining us for this panel discussion. We will definitely have more on this area of honoring your vows for rich or poor, and we're going to be dealing with other segments. For those of you that wish to follow us, you can follow us on YouTube at Value Your Marriage, and also on Facebook at Value Your Marriage. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. And also our website is www.valuemarriage.com, and you'll see us there. If you need to contact us for any reason, feel free to go ahead and do that. We would love to be able to connect with you and talk to you about valuing your marriage and how you can make it better in any area: finances, communication, intimacy, any area. Those are the big 3 areas, though. Those are the big 3. All right, guys. We're gonna say good night, goodbye for now, and we will see you a little bit later.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.